How the 1% stole minimalism, then threw it away.
Minimalism, a movement based on intentional living, about removing the excess, focusing on what matters, and finding purpose through living simply. Or a sleek, curated way to flaunt your wealth and social status without seeming like you're trying too hard. A little over a decade ago, minimalism blew up. It showed up in TED Talks, magazines, brilliant documentaries, and of course, YouTube videos by unconventionally handsome creators.
Anytime rich people don't create something, for some reason when someone else makes something that's interesting, like, oh, minimalism, then the rich people decide that it becomes theirs and their responsibility, and they will make it better and make it expensive, and then it becomes inaccessible to other people. It's like housing in Puerto Rico, where rich people decided they wanted it, so they went there and started buying it all up, and now all the people that are native and actually live there can't afford to live there anymore because it's too expensive. Same concept.
It went from a niche philosophy to a mainstream conversation. For many, minimalism was a practical response to overwhelm, a way to reclaim control, reduce distraction, and build a more meaningful life. But for others, minimalism became just another way to flex, a soft-spoken, logo-free, cashmere-wrapped way of saying, I'm better than you. This is the story.
And it's the stupidest way to flex ever. Like, if you're gonna spend $10,000 on a shirt, just embrace it. Like, you're not fooling anyone by oh, I like the simple things, and it's imported Chinese silk fleece vests that cost $100,000. I think I have more respect for someone that practices maximalism and they're rich. If you're gonna spend the money, just embrace it. I think Lil Nas X has some of the greatest outfits of all time. They're extraordinarily expensive, but it is expensive and it looks expensive, and he just embraces how absurd and high cost these are. Nobody thinks that he's some kind of minimalist king. This is ironically more authentic than anything the Kardashians have done in the past 10 years.
Of how the 1% took minimalism, made it expensive, aspirational, and exclusive, and then, when they were done with it, threw it away.
Yeah, just like
this video is sponsored by
rich people
Squarespace. I'll share more about why I use them for all my websites later. To really understand how we got here, you have to look at where we came from. In the decades leading up to the minimalist movement, status was not subtle. It was really hard to miss. The early 2000s were the peak of loud luxury, a time when the economy was booming, reality TV dominated most channels, and celebrity gossip was everywhere. This was the MTV Cribs era, where celebrity homes were designed not for comfort, but for shock value. Even though many of these homes weren't actually owned by the celebrities and just set up for filming.
Oh, that wasn't your house?
No, it's all lies.
These were the life goals at the time. Brands became status symbols.
I was going to say, yeah, well, at least they were authentic to themselves. They were rich, and then they were really obvious about it. Okay, whatever, at least you're not lying, but then they don't own the houses. That's just so stupid.
Louis Vuitton monograms were stretched across handbags like billboards. Gucci belts doubled as a social currency. Chanel suits weren't just clothes. They were statements about your bank account and your place on the social ladder.
I know it's popular for everyone of my income to say, oh, I don't understand luxury stuff, but I actually don't. A Gucci belt, how is that any different from a belt I bought 10 years ago that still works? I understand it's a symbol and it's, rich people peacocking for other rich people to know how rich they are. But my $10 belt from 10 years ago that I bought at JCPenney holds up my pants just as well as your Gucci belt. Probably more, because your Gucci belt is also made in China, just like my belt was.
For years, advertisers, media, and culture had sold us the idea that more stuff was the path to happiness. And it had never been easier to get it. Two-day shipping became the norm, fast fashion was on constant rotation, and Amazon offered millions of products at our fingertips. Then, the 2008 financial crisis hit, and for many of us, it forced a hard reset. I graduated in 2010, and I remember how uncertain everything felt. So many of us were having a hard time finding jobs and didn't know if things would improve anytime soon. And so
this sounds really similar to today, where post-COVID, nobody can find a job. Also, AI is coming and taking over all the jobs that people were assured were good. Computer science and engineering, best field that you can get into. And then the unemployment rate for new college graduates is something absurd, 11%, almost the highest it's ever been.
A lot of us started to question what we wanted success to look like outside of the status quo. That's when minimalism reemerged, a quiet rebellion against excess, a philosophy that said, less is more.
No matter how much stuff we buy and how many different fads that we try, we don't become a more whole person. We keep looking. This hunger never gets fulfilled. What I found with minimalism is it's a way of saying, let's stop the madness.
And I feel like that's such a laudable goal. Like there's three main things you can do. You can save it, you can spend it, or you can give it. And like saving it is good and giving it is good. And spending it can be good if it's like on experience and stuff. Every time I buy something that's expensive, I'm almost never happy with it. But then every time I go somewhere that's expensive, I'm like, oh yeah, this was the best decision ever. Minimalism is just like admitting that stuff, having a bunch of just like crap in your house doesn't make you happy, which is good.
What started as a fringe idea on some early blogs quickly gained traction. There were best-selling books, viral YouTube videos, and decluttering challenges that swept across social media.
I don't think that's exactly true, because like philosophers in ancient Greece always talked about minimalism and not having stuff. There was that one weird guy that lived in a barrel. Let me see if I can find that guy. The Greek philosopher known for living in a barrel was Diogenes of Sinope. He was a prominent figure in the something school of philosophy. Diogenes famously rejected societal norms and material possessions, choosing to live a simple life, often in a large ceramic jar or a wine cask. He believed in living in accordance with nature and was known for his unconventional and often provocative behavior. Yeah, like this shit has been around for forever.
But then something unexpected happened. The wealthiest people in society, the same ones who once flaunted their status through excess, began embracing minimalism too. Only for them, it looked a little different.
Everything in my house is really minimal. I find that there's so much chaos out in the world.
That's not minimal. That's soulless. This is a room that nobody has stepped in 5 years. Because when you have a 25,000 square foot mansion and, you know, this room right here is the net worth of a small country to it, like obviously it's minimalist. You don't use it. I have a guest bedroom I never go in and there isn't anything in there. There's one air mattress in there because like I don't use it. So it's not a minimalist room. It's a spare room.
That when I come home, I want it to be just really quiet. I put out my 3 faves. I wanted my cars to...
Hearing Kim Kardashian speak makes me so irrationally angry. This is not minimalism right here. This is like $10 million in supercars. There's nothing minimalist about spending the net worth of 10 average people on cars.
kind of blend in. My house is gray and I wanted them to kind of match the house.
Now I know what you're thinking, Matt, really? Are you really going to gatekeep minimalism? Now who am I to say that Kim Kardashian's $60 million, 7,500 square foot home isn't her own unique way of expressing minimalism, just at a much higher level of wealth than the rest of us? Sure, she doesn't own a tiny house, but does that really make her any less of a minimalist?
Yeah.
I don't have a hoarding problem. You're just a minimalist.
Yeah.
And you don't have anything.
Look, I think calling Kim Kardashian a minimalist...
But look at all the shit behind her. Oh, I don't have anything. I live minimalist. Meanwhile, her garage that's larger than my house is like packed to the brim with stuff. Look at this. This is not minimalist. Look at how much stuff she has.
is like calling the Liver King a vegan. The only thing minimalist about her house is the aesthetic. If you strip away the neutral tones and the empty spaces, what you're left with isn't simplicity. It's aspirational luxury repackaged for a new era.
Thank you. It's also like, why does minimalist have to be gray and white like this? Minimalism is choosing not to consume a bunch of stuff that you don't need. I can paint my walls iridescent green or purple or rainbows everywhere and still be minimalist. I haven't consumed a bunch of stuff I don't need. I'm just choosing to let my living space that is minimalist be like a brighter, happier minimalist.
Her sitting room, which I guess is a room connected to her bedroom.
You know that couch costs more than I make in 2 years.
Where she sits. It looks inconspicuous. A sofa and a couple armchairs. But don't be mistaken, this isn't IKEA furniture. These Ors Polaire couches, conceived by French designer Jean Royer,
I'm gonna say $250,000 each.
in the late 1940s, sell at auction for over $500,000 each. And that's on the low end. This is
And that's
so
just
absurd.
for the couch. That's not even for the other two things that were there too. That's just the sofa. Look, so this is $500,000, and then these two, I don't know, $100,000 a piece. Right there, you've got basically $1 million worth of. That's crazy. Who thinks this is minimalist?
In the late 1940s, sell at auction for over $500,000 each. And that's on the low end. This is...
She could just buy like 2 poor people houses for that. So like people that are struggling, working 12-hour days, 6 days a week, trying to feed themselves and their family. And then she could just end that in a heartbeat without even noticing, because she doesn't go into that room. She wouldn't even notice that the sofas were gone.
so absurd that I feel like I need to repeat that number. This is a couch that costs over $500,000. What the fuck is happening? Just from the short home tour I watched, where she only showed 3 of the many rooms in the house, I was able to spot 2 of these sofas and 2 armchairs. These aren't couches, they're status symbols. That's why other celebrities like Jennifer Aniston and Ellen DeGeneres also have them. While it might look similar, this
It's
isn't
just
the
a peacock.
minimalism that had us decluttering our closets and tossing our Little League trophies away. Because minimalism was
She just wants the other rich people to know that she's better and more rich than they are.
never about creating the perfect empty room. It wasn't about beige couches or curated aesthetics. It was about rejecting the idea that your worth is tied to what you own or where you rank on the social ladder. Minimalism was a rebellion against consumerism. This is just another flavor of it. While it's a new trend to see the rich embrace minimalism, if that's what you want to call it, when it comes to fashion, it's been around for a really long time. As Paul Fussell wrote in Class, a guide through the American status system, as you move up the classes and the understatement principle begins to operate, the words gradually disappear, to be replaced in the middle and upper middle classes by mere emblems, like the Lacoste alligator. Once ascending further, you've left all such trademarks behind. You may correctly infer that you're entering the purlies of the upper class itself. Old money families like the Vanderbilts, Rockefellers, and Kennedys have always lived by this understatement principle. But now this kind of expression of subtle yet very expensive style has become much more popular. And they have a name for it: quiet luxury. The term
They just picked up all the money that they would spend on like gaudy, expensive stuff, and they just picked it up and they moved it somewhere else. Like if I were to spend $500,000 just on stuff for my house, it would be packed to the gills. You would not be able to walk around here for all the cheap Chinese garbage that I would have imported. And people would assume that I was a maximalist or not minimalist. But if I spend $500,000 on a sofa that I, look at once a year when Architecture Digest comes in to tour my house, then suddenly I'm a role model to look up to because I don't need stuff like those disgusting poor people do.
quiet luxury first gained traction during Gwyneth Paltrow's 2023 ski trial, as she walked into the courtroom day after day wearing very basic clothing, at least basic to the untrained eye. You see, she wasn't wearing Everlane
Like 10
or
grand in
Uniqlo.
shoes.
She was wearing a $613 shirt from Plan C, $1,400 Prada boots, and $58,000 worth of jewelry from Foundry.
Except that look at this. I could replicate this on probably a $50 budget. This is crazy. You wouldn't even know the difference. You would be unable to tell between the ones that I imported from Alibaba and these that she got for $1,400.
To someone like me, and probably most people, it all looked pretty standard.
I think Gwyneth's outfits are actually helping her with the jury. They're all very everyday. She's not screaming celebrity through her outfits, and that's because she's refraining from color, she's refraining from glamour.
I couldn't tell her boots
Gwyneth Paltrow's freaking publicist wrote that. There's no way that a normal person would say that. Nobody looks at that and thinks, oh, she's probably dressing from Goodwill just like you or I would.
from a $100 pair at Steve Madden. Just like I couldn't tell Kim Kardashian's millions of dollars worth of sofas apart from a $2,000 version at CB2. But if you know, you know. And that's the point. During
The same freaking sofa. It's the same freaking sofa. This is absurd. Look at that. This is $500,000.
at CB2.
And then this one right here
but if you know,
is
you know.
$1,200. It's the same freaking sofa, man.
And that's the point. During the trial, fashion reporters started decoding her plain wardrobe, revealing that this was actually a masterclass in quiet luxury, status disguised as simplicity. Quiet luxury plays a fascinating psychological game. It signals power through restraint. It's a social filter. If you recognize it, you're in the club. If you don't, you're not.
She's brought a ludicrously capacious bag.
What?
What's even in there? Huh? Flat shoes for the subway? Her lunch pail?
The louder you flaunt your wealth, the more it suggests you're unsure of your status. The truly powerful don't need to announce it. They can afford to be quiet. That's what makes minimalism the perfect vehicle for this message. An empty room doesn't say, I couldn't afford more. It says, I had every option, and I chose restraint. Yes, thank you. These couches are comfortable. They cost more than your house. That's where minimalism, when co-opted by the wealthy, stops being a philosophy and starts being performative. The irony is that through quiet luxury and minimalism,
If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. If it costs $500,000, then it's not minimalist. You are maximalisting your house.
the elite pretend like they don't care, but their choices show their insecurities more than they realize. You don't spend $10,000 on a handbag unless you hope the people around you know exactly what you're holding. Whether you're in the upper
I don't know if that's insecurity though. Do you think that's insecurity, or do they just want people to know that they think they're better? It's like, is it insecurity or is it just pure ego? Like, I know that I'm so much better than you because I can afford a $100,000 pair of shoes that you simply can't. I imagine some rich people have to be insecure, but like a lot of it I think is just like they want to show off how much better they are. It's not insecurity, it's just raw pride.
echelon or not, most of us fall into the same trap, buying things to signal that we belong, to show that we're keeping up. We rarely admit it, but so many of our choices, the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the neighborhoods we live in, are shaped by where we think we fit on the social ladder, even if you call yourself a minimalist. For the upper class, it might be a Birkin bag. A step below that might be Saint Laurent. And then Michael Kors, maybe a cheap replica from Walmart. It's fair to say that quality and price come into question whenever making a purchase. But I think we often place far more weight on what it says about us and how it's going to look to others. The trends across all classes are constantly moving. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that just like every other trend before it, the aesthetic of minimalism is starting to fade. And something new is...
Yeah, that's because like when you had loud wealth, now anyone can afford those kinds of things. That, you know, manufacturing has come so far, stuff is made in China so cheaply that all of the big, gaudy, audacious things that rich people used to spend all of their money on, now anybody can get. So it's no longer cool. You and I can get the same iced out blings, as the kids say, like big gold chains. They look exactly the same. The rich people are like, oh, well, we got to come full circle now. Now it's back to the other end of things where we're not looking as loud and colorful as we were before, but it costs 10 grand for a t-shirt.
Is already taking its place. By their nature, fads fade. And while elite minimalism or quiet luxury still has a firm grip on the elite class, the tides are already turning. We're starting to see the return of loud luxury again. Bold logos, statement pieces, and unapologetic flexes. And the brands, they're happy to move the goalposts again, as long as it keeps people spending. Gucci, Balenciaga, and Versace are back in the spotlight, embraced by celebrities like Dua Lipa, Lil Nas X, and Rihanna, who are leaning hard into their maximalist branding. Opulence is in, subtlety is starting to feel forgettable.
And I kind of almost prefer that, because like if you're going to spend that much money on stuff, like just own up to it. You're not fooling anyone into thinking that you're happy with not having much stuff, or that the stuff you have is just like the stuff I have. Just make it loud, man.
While the look might change, the underlying motivation stays the same. It's a system based almost entirely on comparison, on trying to keep up, on always needing more. This is the real danger behind these trends. Not the clothing, not the couches, but what they trigger in us. The endless urge to measure ourselves against others, to think we're behind because our lives don't look like someone else's. It's a trap, and it doesn't lead to happiness. It only leads to anxiety, distraction, and discontent. Minimalism is the off-ramp from that cycle. It's about stepping outside the algorithm, the status race, the constant comparison, and asking yourself what actually matters to you. Because when you mistake the aesthetic for the philosophy, you're not escaping consumerism. You're just playing the same game in a different outfit.
Phenomenal video. I also feel like one of the big takeaways is like minimalism is stuff like I don't need stuff in my day-to-day life. All the stuff behind me, most of it I received as presents. I've bought basically nothing I own, and that's because I want to spend all my money on experiences. I love traveling, and I will go full out maximalist and blow all my money on a fun adventure or like good food at a fancy restaurant. I practice minimalism in one place, and that I really don't buy anything ever, so I can practice maximalism in the things I really enjoy, like traveling, food, experiences. So thanks, Matt Diavilla. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you later.